So why don't you start with,
Well, let's talk about land ownership because
yeah.
something just happened in British Columbia that could upend the entire system in which our country operates private property rights. See, one of the cornerstone of capitalism and honestly democracy is that whatever you own lawfully, well, it belongs to you lawfully, and you're entitled to protect it, you're entitled to use it peacefully, you're entitled to enjoy it. And it cannot just be stolen, claimed, or taken by force or through other means by other people from you, right? That's the purpose of it. And we love real estate in Canada. We are real estate fiends in Canada. That is the cornerstone of our pretty much our economy. Side note, not a productive asset, so that's why we suck. But the Supreme Court of British Columbia announced that a claim, let's see here, I wrote it down. I don't even have it written down. Sorry, mon français sort. So it was a dispute, actually the longest court battle ever between the Cowichan tribes. Sorry, fuck. There you go. I'm gonna get canceled. But the Cowichan tribes versus Canada in the British Supreme Court, which made some important decisions which could negatively affect the titles of the property owners in the city of Richmond, British Columbia. Effectively, this tribe claims that their land is theirs and was not ceded, right? The whole unceded territory thing. So the chain and the title of ownership going back hundreds of years could have been erroneous. It could have been negated, effectively making all owners of property today null and void, and the property being given back to these tribal individuals. This would upend the entire real estate market. Banks would be hesitant to put mortgages on property because the whole fundamental nature of a mortgage is that you own it, it is immutable, it is set in stone, and we can take a guarantee against it in the event of you defaulting on your payment.
Mm-hmm.
It would upend the real estate market, the costs of housing, the ability for people to peacefully enjoy it, to rent out their properties as well. Heck, even municipalities now, can they truly collect municipal taxes because it's based on property value, right?
And ownership.
It's ludicrous. And what blows my mind is that you have one fucking judge who came up with this decision. Now, it's important to note, currently, it is being appealed in the appellate's court, and we do have to give it time to go through the due process. But if this is kept up, if this is upheld, I suppose it'd probably go to the Supreme Court of Canada. But even if it goes there, and it is upheld in the Supreme Court of Canada, I mean, what the fuck is that going to look like for our country now? Where any ancestral tribes can just lay claims to everything. I mean, they'll lay claims to all the country at this point, no?
So what happened exactly? Like how many housing units did this affect, or how much property did this really affect?
From what I looked into it, I don't have the numbers right here, but it's like several hundred acres of land. It's not like just a corner lot, you know what I mean? This is several hundred acres in a specific subsect of Richmond, British Columbia.
Okay.
And this also will affect a city water treatment plant, because they were planning to build or expand their water treatment plant on this land, which now they can't do because of this ruling. And everything has just kind of been up in a limbo. So much so that the city of Richmond itself decided to send a letter to the property owners in the city, warning them of the Supreme Court decision of BC and telling them, and I quote, the court has declared Aboriginal title to your property, which may compromise the status and validity of your ownership.
Can you imagine investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars into productive real estate and just having it seized with no recourse? Well, recourse,
Yeah.
I guess, but...
And then they continue saying, this was mandated without any prior notice to the landowners. The entire area outlined in green is claimed on appeal by the Cowichan First Nations. My man, these land acknowledgements, by the way, which started just a few years ago, are it started with, let's acknowledge the unceded territory, and now it's now, give me your fucking house by force.
It's mine.
Yeah, that's what happens, by the way, with virtue signaling. It's always just a little bit, right? It started off with, for example, gay rights. We just want to love equally. We just want to be free to love who we want. I'm cool with that. Now it's, Let me fucking strip naked in front of your kid, and we're not actually pedophile. We are minor attracted individuals. Like, that's what it led to, right? Now we're just like, let's just virtue signal and say that, before a hockey game, we are acknowledging that this is unceded territory of the whatever fucking tribe. And now it's, what, these tribes are going to take your fucking dwelling by force. It always leads, it's give me an inch, they will take a mile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, it is insane. And the one thing that pisses me off about this is the constant thing of, this is unceded territory, we did not agree, you took this against due process. No, dude. No, not at all. First of all, Canadians came to this undeveloped nation. It was undeveloped, right? Sure, there were tribes of Aboriginals that lived here. It was not, first of all of Canada. They were small little sections. And second of all, it was not developed. And this applies to America as well. It's important to note, because America has the exact same fucking issues. Our pioneers, our citizens, our forefathers, they pioneered and staked their lives on the frontier to create the civilization we have today. At great cost, many people died. Many people fucking had to lose their entire belongings. They went and into these remote, dangerous areas to create the civilizations we have today. This would have never been done, by the way, under the Aboriginal tribes. Ever. We did it. And on top of that, we're being nice. Don't pay taxes. We're going to give you a bunch of money. We're going to give you a bunch of special privileges just because we're trying to appease you. And that's not enough. Now it's, give us the fucking land back. Okay, well, how about we just go scorch earth? Scorch earth. We just burn everything down. What are you going to do? You're going to go back to fucking hunting on your fucking horseback? That's not what they're going to do. And and just to close this real quick, I saw this quote from a movie, but God is it good. And I want to know what you think of this, but God is it good. It's a quote from Colonel Miles in a movie called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knees, right? Wounded Knees, which was a dark stain on American history when a bunch of army soldiers opened fire on a tribe and killed a bunch of people. And he says the following to a tribal chief. This is the colonel talking to the chief saying, "No matter what your legends say, you didn't sprout from the plains like spring grasses, and you didn't coalesce from the ether. You came out of the Minnesota woodlands armed to the teeth and set upon your fellow men. You massacred the Kiowa, the Omaha, the Polka, the Ottawa, the Pawnees without mercy, and yet you claimed the Black Hills as private preserve bequeathed to you by the Great Spirit. The proposition that you were a peaceable people before the appearance of the white man is the most fanciful legends of all. You were killing each other for hundreds of moons before the first whites stepped foot on this continent. You conquered those tribes lusting for their game and their lands, just as we have now conquered you for no less noble of a cause." There we go. I don't know, man.
Drop the mic.
Bam! But, isn't that what it is?
Well, it's human nature in a nutshell, right? That's humans have historically, it's always been survival of the fittest. That's just the way of the world. That's the way of the jungle. And, we have this beautiful society that we can now live in peacefully and ignore a lot of those laws of the jungle because we don't have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that's what's at play here. It's just...
Well, that's humanity, like you said.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which corner of the world you go to. There's always been a local population that tried to hold on to the land and a outside group trying to conquer it. This applies to the Indian fucking history. This applies to European history. This applies to Chinese history. This applies to Native American history. This is a universal truth. Humans have thrived and strived for resources, taking it by force and through sheer violence from one another for eons.
Absolutely. And it happens to this day. Our government does this to us insidiously. And so these things happen, and it's the way of the world. And unfortunately, we cannot solve the problems of 300, 400 years ago. We cannot resolve those issues. There's terrible things that happen. We're not going to just, sweep that under the rug. And I totally get where you're coming from. But, from their side, they feel that atrocities were committed to them and they need special concessions in order to live in their peace, which,
But don't they get some? I mean, again, they're not taxed. They have specific pieces of land that they are allowed to manage that are extraterritorial in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
They manage it how they want. If you live there, you're not taxed.
Yeah.
You're exempt from sales taxes when you buy things anywhere else in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to migrate or to travel between Canada and the US without a passport. It's considered just one big nation for you. You
Yeah.
have so many fucking advantages.
And that's the thing about Canada is Canada's become the country where we can actually live in harmony and peace with different cultures, and that we cannot just keep looking at the past and make decisions based on the past. We have to look at the current situation now, where we're at now with our relationship with Indigenous people, with people from other cultures, and how are they integrating into this country that we have built, this civilization that we have. And we need to look forward and look at the current state of Canada, look at the current state of the Canadian dollar, and all these modern issues, these issues today that are really taking a lot of space and causing a lot of damage to the average citizen. And those are the issues we should be focused on, not, conceding this land that may have been yours 400 years ago and your family lived here 400 years ago. That's not the focus. The focus should be on how are we going to empower the Indigenous people? How are we going to integrate them into this modern economy, this global economy where everyone is trading, different countries are trading? How do we bring these Indigenous people and create opportunity with them, work with them, create businesses with them, and thrive alongside them? There's no reason to like cast away and create division. We should all be focused on improving our economy, improving these things, and growing businesses and thriving.
Absolutely. But here's the reality: when you give special privileges to people, they also start becoming entitled to those
Absolutely,
privileges. They
entitlements.
believe in entitlement. I used to work in northern Alberta. I worked in the bitumen, the tar sands, right? And I work with some old timers, some old farts that have, experience in all kinds of sectors. And one of them was my foreman. Shout out to you, Buddy Shearsmith. Fucking love that guy. What a good guy. His name was Buddy, literally. Best name in the world. From Alberta, all right? And he worked in the diamond mines many, many, many generations ago. And he was telling me the story about this one time they had a lease, like a diamond lease, on a piece of land that belonged to some tribe, some native band. And the company had to negotiate a crazy deal to be able to exploit the diamonds there. And one of the deal was that they had to pay royalties to every individual, every citizen of that band. Now, this amounted, the royalties, kid you the fuck not, to something like $100,000+ per year in royalty given to every single man and woman of that fucking tribe, right? $100,000 like 40 years ago. It's insane the amount of money. Now, here's what it led to. Instead of the local natives being welcoming and open-armed and happy about the fact that they didn't have to lift a finger, they didn't have to work, they didn't have to do fuck all, and earned more than 99% of Canadians at that time, instead, they started buying a bunch of trucks and toys with it, and they would taunt the workers with them. So for example, this guy bought this huge pickup truck and got a big decal in the back saying, "Fuck the white man" on it. And it's like, a little ironic, because considering it's the white man who bought you that pickup truck. Or they would try to kick people out of the bars and the local restaurants whenever they were on, off days and enjoying their downtime. They were incredibly confrontational and antagonistic against the whites who were there to work. So the problem is, again, if you give special privileges to people, they believe that they are special, and then they don't respect you. What I believe, the true reconciliation and truth is, bad things happened. Everyone's guilty of it. Let's fucking shake hands and work together going forward as equals, period. Not as more than others. I don't know. That's my take.
Well,